Okay, so we have set up our cluster, it's up and running. We have set up our workspace correctly. We have imported our notebooks. Now we can go ahead and do some data preparation. So back into my workspace, I have these notebook files that I have uploaded. So under the assets, we have this data preparation, and we'll just go through the steps that we have available. So to prepare our data, first things first, we have to mount the bucket that we put our SAP data in. And there are different ways to make S3 bucket a data source. So we have the external location, which I'll be working with. We have the attach the instance profile to the cluster and mount the S3 bucket to the database file system. I showed you how to create an instance profile in the first video, so you can check that out. In this case, I'll go with the recommended way, which is using an external location or a volume in the Unity catalog. So first things first, we have to set up what is the catalog that you're going to use. And when you create a workspace, a catalog is actually created for us, but you can create your own catalog if you need to. So we have this catalog called Databricks on AWS. We can utilize that or create our own other. So in this case, I'll replace the catalog name and run this and attach to my compute resource. Okay, so my cluster is available. Now I can go ahead, run the cell. So the catalog name to be used is Databricks on AWS, whereby a catalog just contains everything like the schemas, which is the database, the tables themselves, the models, the volumes we create. So it's just a one container storage. So from there, we are running this to create a schema called the sub seminar and use that schema, and the schema it's just like a database for our tables. So the next thing is we need to register a storage credential, and this represents an AWS IAM role, which will give our Databricks permissions to access the data in our external location. So they are used to create an external location which scopes to a specific storage path. So how do we go about this? Under our catalog, we can specify like the credentials and create a credential. So this is a storage credential, and you can see with an IAM role or Cloudflare API token if you're using that. And I can copy this from the instance profile, that is okay. Or you can set it up just by copying the role ARN. So if your instance profile has the necessary permissions like S3 full access, why not? You can go ahead and do that, create the storage location, and you can see it's giving me information like I have to go to the AWS console and update the IAM role with the custom trust policy, which is provided. So the role should allow like my external ID, this is my Databricks ID to assume the role, and also these specific principles, which are which have already been set up. Like if you go to the role I was showing you before, Databricks, this one. So I think my trust relationships are set up correctly. So it allows the external ID and also these principles which have been provided by the Databricks platform. So I'll just say done. I have done this and that is okay. So we have created our storage credential available over there. Next now is to go ahead and create like our external location and link it. So back to my notebook. So we have to use the recommended way is to use an external location in Unity catalog, and we can manage access control to S3 buckets and prevent even our users from accessing that bucket. So manage everything from the Unity catalog itself. So we are going to create an external location. Back to the catalog. I think I should just open this in a new tab. Okay. So I want to create, we have created credentials. So now we want to create an external location. So I'm going to create one. And the quick start way, it is going to create for you an S3 bucket and so on through CloudFormation. But if I have already my storage set up and I already have a storage credential which I have set up on my own, I can go the manual way and specify what is the external location name in this case. So the storage type we are using S3 and the URL. So we have to enter the URL of the bucket you're going to use to get our external data, and that should be here. The storage credential that is going to be used will be the one we have created. And create. I think I had put a space. Now the external location has been created. So from that external location, the next thing to do is to create an external volume. And volume just represents a volume of storage for our cloud object storage solution. So how to create a volume? Create external volume. We specify the catalog name, the schema that you're going to be using. So we create the sub seminar and the location of our data, the external location of our data. So this is the new bucket name and it needs the full path. And cool. So thereby what we have done from that point in time, if we go to our Databricks on AWS catalog over here and the sub seminar database we have created, now we see we have a volume available, the sub data. And if you get an overview of it, details. So this volume type is external, where it's getting data from is S3. And you can see an overview of some of the items that we have available, the files that we have available, and this is basically what is in our S3. So that is the volume we have created. Now the next thing, so we can set up like a widget so that anytime we encounter the AWS bucket name variable, it's going to get that from there. So over here, you can see at the top, we are getting a widget on what is the AWS bucket name. So we can fill that up. So we reuse it in the next commands. And cool. So we can go ahead and uh, do some mounts. So this is now if we are using the instance profile way. So you can specify the folder name if you are using the instance profile mount. You can specify, this is the command you're going to run when mounting, and then you can unmount. So for example, if I run this, because I attached an instance profile to my cluster, don't know if it will work. Cool. So now a mount has been created. So you can see the path where the information has been mounted. And I can go ahead and unmount that because I won't be using the instance profile. So we use the one we have been using before, that is a storage using the external location and setting up a storage credential. So now that we have our data available, let's load that data. Should have zoomed that uh, a while ago. So yep, let's try load the extracted data as a Spark data frame. So the path is specifically this. So if you're using the instance profile that we had set up before, you will uncomment this second line. So I'm doing this for the external volume, for the volume we created. So that is the path. Let's see the volumes that are available. Right now it should only be one, the one we have created because we unmounted the second one. And now we can go ahead and create like some uh, load that data as a Spark data frame. So to read from our specific path, that is for the sales header table and the sales item table. So they will be tabulated as VBAC bronze and VBAP bronze. So for the bronze layer, we have not done some manipulation of our data. And now we want to write that data into a Delta format. So if we run this, so we have created like two tables, the VBAC bronze, which contains the sales header, and VBAP, which contains the items. So it's going to create those tables. They were Spark format in S3, but you're creating them in Delta format. So for example, now if we review what is in these tables, like select all from this, we can see a table, a very big table, 1500 plus rows, and we have all types of columns available, which contains sales items. So these are just some SAP terminologies that we have around. For example, you'll get information about the currency. Let me go back. So over here we get information like the sales document number, the date it was created, the creation time, the time the order was created, and so on and so on. Who was it created by, the user ID, and much more information. So that is the same for the first one was the sales header table, contains information about the sale. The second one is about the different items that were created. So now, as you have seen, it's not clear like what information the columns represent. So we do have a mapping file which you can use for the specific reference. And this specific mapping file, so for example, we have to get the username of my current workspace and read data in the CSV format from these specific files. So the mapping files that I have available. These mapping files are available over here. Uh, it's not in the notebook, back. So we have these like mapping files that are available. So we are trying to read from them. So I'll run this command. So it ran successfully, and here we are just giving information about some of the uh, headers, what they represent, like the sales document, registration document, customer ID, net order amount, and sales document. So if we like select all information from our mapping folder, so the VBAC mapping, yeah, is this one. So it's a temporary view of our CSV file. So we can see information like what each column represents. And that is the same, for example, if we select just a few tables uh, from our bronze sales header table. So like this, and this, and this. Those, if we check our table over here, for example, you can see the VBELN would represent the sales document, registration date, customer, net order amount, and so on. And for example, if we select the same from our specific items, that is the VBAP mapping. We see information like what represents the sales slip, item group, total quantity. So all those have been defined in our mapping tables. So now we want to create enriched data with the information we have. So we are doing some cleaning. Now that we know what columns represent, we want to create a new table called renamed, which will have like the renamed columns for our sales table and also sales header table and also our sales item table. Like now we know like the VBELN is the ID, this is the registered date. So we want to create a new table with these columns renamed. So that's what we're doing over here. And we are displaying that specific data frame. So this is just creating faster data frame. And now we can see the information and it only contains the columns you have specified. And we are doing the same way for the items table. So getting the invoice number, net amount, and the item, and renaming them to something that is readable. So now we have two tables, the sales header and the item table, now with readable column names. Now we can create a new table which only has the records that we need. So we are creating an enriched sales data by keeping only records that contain item information. So over here we are doing a rejoin, not a rejoin, a join on our renamed like tables. So perform a join on the VBAC and the VBAP. So sales header, sales item table, do an inner join on them and create a table, write them into a table which is in the Delta format and the mode is overwrite and save this table as the sales record silver. And yep, perfect. So our sales record silver table is created and now we can uh, run a select statement and here it is. So which are the sales record silver table contains the joined table with only the data we need on our specific items. And that wraps up the data preparation phase. The next thing we need to do is um, do some forecasting, develop a forecasting model on our data. So we have done some data preparation. Now we are going to perform some exploratory data analysis to understand our data. And then we are going to be generating an Auto ML model to just use Databricks Auto ML to develop a machine learning model, which is going to create a table for us that contains the prediction results to be used to develop our dashboard. So back to the assets. Exploratory data analysis just to understand our data. So my catalog name is Databricks on AWS. So I have set that up. I want to use that catalog and my same schemas. And just before we continue, if we take a look at our catalog now, we do have the SAP webinar with some 3 tables in it. The bronze for the sales header and sales items, and the silver table that we have created. And it also has one external volume that points to our data in Amazon S3. Okay, so let's just see the data we have. Select all from the sales record silver. And we have information about the item IDs, the customer IDs, the price of the item, the currency of the item, what item group the item belongs to. So which items do we want to analyze? So remember that is the silver table. Now we are going ahead and creating our bronze table from this architecture diagram that I shared before. So the sales history table should contain, this is a gold table that will contain Let me clear this. So in this gold table, you are going to do some aggregation on the monthly sales and use that to train our machine learning model. So this is where we are at this point in time. Back to Databricks. So we want to do an aggregation of the number of transactions and the transaction amount by the product type, depending on the type of the product, and run this. So we want to select the item group, the sum of the prices in those item groups from our sales record silver and group by the different item group. So we only have 9 item groups available, the sum and the count. Now over here, what you are noticing, if we just do a quick sort, this specific item like groups that we have available, the Z youth, Z cruise, Z racing, they have like large transaction volumes and also large transaction frequencies. So you can see from even the sum and the count you're getting. So these are actually the item groups that we are looking at using to perform some forecasting. And if we check the time series trends of the items that we are analyzing, so we are only getting information from the items which are in these specific 4 groups that we have basically specified. Uh, let's run this. So we want to select the registered date from our record silver. And if we take a look at this and also sort this, you will realize that the latest data that you are getting are from specific item groups, especially the cruise. If I scroll down, we have the youth, Z cruise, Z cruise, Z cruise, Z cruise, Z youth, Z cruise, and so on in 2020. So the Z cruise is an exception because you are seeing the sales are spiking uh, majority of the time. So now we are going to create a table that is going to be used by our Auto ML to create predictions. So the goal is to predict the monthly time series of the bike sales, and we're going to be using Databricks Auto ML function to develop this model for us. So we want to create a sales history table that we are going to be using. So the sales history table will contain information like the year, month, the date. So we are going to select the date from our sales record silver, where the item group is in all those specific categories. So let's run this. And now if we see what we have in the sales history, so you can see we are only getting the year, month, and the price for all products which are in these specific categories. And now we can see the information like the sum of the prices for all the months that we have available. And if we sort, for example, we can see we are getting data about 2022. So assume you don't need that data in 2022 because 2022 is not over. You can go ahead and exclude that data so that it's not be used for machine learning. So I can go ahead, delete the data from 2022. Maybe I don't need that. And also metadata is going to be added. So you can, it's possible to time travel. So for example, if I do describe the history of the sales history table that I have created, I will see information like, okay, I created this table and then I deleted a specific row, and you can go back and go back to a version if you want to, so time travel back. So now, yep, if we select all from our sales history table, now we don't have the 2022 data, we have up to 2021, which we want to use to forecasting. And now we have prepared the table that will be used for machine learning development. We can go to the machine learning aspect of it. If I refresh this page, we can see now we have 4 tables and the sales history table is part of it. And this is what we'll be using for machine learning purposes. Cool. Back to our workspace. Now to run the last notebook. So what is happening over here? We are trying to use Databricks Auto ML, which is available in the machine learning menu that you can see over here. We want to create an experiment, which is a prediction, um, basically a prediction or a forecasting problem. So we have to specify the problem we're looking at is forecasting. What is the table that we're going to be using to train the model? So we'll specify the sales history table that we have and so on, and some different metrics that we have available. So if I go to, I can open this in a new tab and go to AutoML, to AIML, sorry, create an experiment. The problem we are looking at, so we have different types like building a Gen AI app or agent, fine tuning, classification, and so on. So my problem is a forecasting problem. I'm going to specify the cluster that I'm going to be using and the input training data set. So this will be from my SAP webinar and the sales history table. The prediction target, I want to predict the price. The time column is this, and the frequency can specify every 2 months, but you see all the capabilities or all the options you have available. The output database after creating the prediction, so I'll still select my database, the SAP schema database I have created. So that is where it's going to create the file for me. And yeah, you can specify some advanced configuration like the evaluation metrics for those who are familiar with machine learning, different metrics that are going to be used, the training frameworks that you want to be used. Uh, you can specify some holidays to make the prediction work better. And the timeout is what I'm interested in. So to reduce that timeout so that it takes less time. And I can go ahead and start my auto ML. So we can see like the progress and the results of our experiment over here. And you can see like the best model will always be shown at the very top, but you can also just select them and compare to view the comparison about how it went ahead with the training, the one which has the best data and so on. So for example, I can take a look at this model and yeah, just select it and register it. Okay, so now to register our model, we are being given like some code snippets to run uh, to install the Python dependencies and then register the model to our Unity catalog. So what we can do over here is go to our workspace, just create a random notebook, a new notebook. And the first command was to install Python ML flow, and I can connect this to my active cluster. And that was successful. So the next thing to register our model. So we specify the name of our catalog, the schema, and the model name could be my model. And now our model should be registered from this place. Refresh. So you can see we have 5 tables, 1 volume, 1 model, and from the 5 tables, what you can see over here is a new table has been created called the forecast prediction table, and you can also view sample data as long as you are connected to an active SQL warehouse or cluster. So I can just start that in the meantime. We can go ahead and now get started with creating like a data mart. So like a table which will combine the results which we have already from our uh, sales history table and the prediction, so that we can use that to visualize in Power BI. So the catalog name is Databricks on AWS. It should use the same catalog. And we're just going to get information about what is this forecast table that has been created. So it normally starts with the forecast prediction. That is why they are filtering by the table name is like forecast prediction that we have seen. And now we are going to combine the actual information that we have from our sales history table and union that with what we have from the forecast table. In this case, to generate a table called the sales forecast. And we're going to use this now for visualization in our Power BI or Amazon QuickSight. And that completes the development of our machine learning model, creating of forecasting of our data. So the last stage of this is now to set up visualization. I'm going to show you the visualization aspect of our data in 2 ways. So the first way is using like visualization in AWS, that is using QuickSight. And also we can do visualization using Power BI. So you see how we set up the two. So let me start quickly with QuickSight. Okay, and if you have not set up QuickSight in your account for the first time, there is a step to go through. But once you have QuickSight set up, so the first thing you have to do is um, figure out where you're going to like get your data from. So over here at datasets, so you see I have some of the records already, but just to show you the process, you have to specify where your data is, what is your data source, and you can see the different Salesforce, S3, Redshift, MySQL, PostgreSQL, Spark, and one of them is Databricks. So I can specify Databricks over here, the data source name. So I'll just specify Databricks on AWS, the connection type. I have to specify the database server that I am using, the HTTP path, the port, the username, and the password that you're going to be using. So in this case, uh, Those information you can get here from compute. So if I select my cluster now, under the advanced section, I'll get information about the server host name, the HTTP path, and the port was 443. So for the username and the password, now we are going to get that information from, we are going to generate a Databricks personal access token. So over here, back to our cluster, I can go to the settings and under security, no, developer, and set up an access token. So this is used for secure authentication to the Databricks API instead of using password. So what is this token for? QuickSight connector, and generate. And now I can copy this token. So over here in Databricks, the username is just token, and the password, we can put that and validate the connection and create a data source. So now we have to specify which schema we want to use. So I can select that, and the table, the schema that we're going to use, and the data that we want to visualize. So basically it should be around the sales forecast, and you can also get information from any of the other tables. So I can select sales forecast, and you have to specify whether you want to directly query your data. In this case, I'll leave it as default and then go ahead and visualize. So now we have like a graph over here. So the data set is this one. We can also add a new data set. So data set, and instead of connecting again, we can just say from an existing data source that we have connected. The sub-seminar table, can specify, for example, the sales record silver. Okay, now we can go ahead like create a dashboard. Over here, if we want to add a new data set, I can select like the sales forecast. So ready to go. So for example, we can select the sales record silver, and we need information about the item group and the price, and we can specify our visualization type. So we can check the clustered, and then for the lines, we can also put the item group to perform a count on that. So this one I can delete. So we have this one. So now we can visualize our data from there, and you can also go ahead and add an additional graph. So I can add another visual. This one now could be a line chart. And now for this one, it will be about the sales forecast to forecast the trend. So I can take all this. And now we have like a nice line chart available over here. We can sort this however we wish. Year, month, sort by, let's say, ascending order. And then Yeah, we can go ahead, style all series, add a marker. We need to specify the color and so on. And yep, so we have like our dashboard looking well. That is how we visualize data from Databricks and integrate with QuickSight. For Power BI, it's also very simple. So I'll create a blank report. And now from here, we can also say get data. We have some common data sources. I can say more. And I can specify Databricks. Connect. And you'll be asked still the server name, server host name, and the HTTP path. So also that we get the same way we did before. So under our compute cluster, advanced, uh, and now you can specify where the data is coming in from. So it's in this SAP webinar schema. And now I can select all the data I want, like the sales forecast, sales record, silver. Do load that. Okay. So after loading the data, now we can go ahead. For example, select the sales record silver, build whatever type of chart we want, like the line and stacked column chart, and we specify the fields we want. So for example, this is the sales forecast. We can specify that is a line chart, and we can sort this to uh, so do some formatting, add markers as we did before. Yep, and then we can also go ahead from the sales record silver, select what we want, like the item group and the price, and build a line and stacked. And we get almost the same as we had before. You can sort your data as you wish. So that basically wraps it up. Otherwise, I hope it was a good learning experience and see you in the next one. Bye bye.